So let's start with a little trivia. So do you know who this guy is? Yep, Timothy Berners-Lee. He's the guy that is credited with inventing the World Wide Web. And he pretty much did it on his own and decided to turn it over to the world. Of course, he could have made a pile of money, but he chose to share it. This is a drawing he did that was part of his proposal in '89 to the people at CERN, proposing his idea for the World Wide Web. And they very nonchalantly gave him the go-ahead. And so right here in these halls, on this machine, he invented the World Wide Web and all the technologies that would be needed. For instance, when you type HTTP, that means something. It was some technology that had to be developed to make the whole thing work. And it's interesting to note, if you look at the box on the right, it says this machine is a server. Do not power down. So that's the world's first web server. And now they're so big they need their own hydroelectric dams. So, humble beginnings from Timothy Berners-Lee. The other thing to note was that the web was pretty much a one-way conversation. You couldn't interact with what you were seeing. It was basically what we call brochureware. And when we, as designers, first got the technology and it was made available to us, we took our clients' brochures, text and photos, and put them up on a website. And very little interaction and not very dynamic. It was like this one-way conversation. So if you could imagine a phone conversation where the person on the right can't even talk, they might be able to send you a piece of mail, but not really engage in the conversation. As the web gained popularity, brands began to realize that the content needed to become a lot more dynamic. And so a lot more was offered to the users, and it became a much more valuable resource. And the conversation also became more dynamic and two-way. So the web became a way to not only share information, but to communicate or to interact. So let's fast forward about 15 years and look at the ecosystem that developed around the internet with the web at the center. So you've got social media, which aren't really websites necessarily, but I mean there are examples like Facebook. But these are ways that people could not only interact with the brand, but they could interact with each other. There's also other ways to deliver content, like through a blog or through a Tumblr. So the internet with the web at the center becomes this communication tool that allowed people to share their opinions, to share their own expertise, their own knowledge, and also interact with one another. So why is this important? Well, some authors have said we are living in a post-trust era. We're living at a time when people just are not buying the traditional advertising messages. In other words, they don't want to hear we're the biggest, we're the best, fewer calories, greater taste. People just don't believe it anymore. We don't want to be sold something. So we've turned from people who are being sold something to people who have chosen to buy something. And we do this by responding to people that we respect, that we might know, that we understand are the trusted leaders. And I call them referrers. You can call them anything you'd like. I think Tupperware had the right idea. Pull people together and listen to somebody that you trust. So the marketing world is calling this paradigm shift a shift from push marketing to pull marketing. So I've got a few definitions here that'll help you understand these concepts. So push marketing is when you're expected to make a decision based on some uninvited interruption from a person that you don't even know, telling you about something that you don't even care about yet. It's annoying, and it's ineffective, and it's disruptive. And we know the forms that they come in. Unsolicited phone calls, people coming to your door, pushy salespeople, commercials that interrupt your shows at night, pop-up ads over your websites, junk mail, spam. You're forced to deal with them because they're pushed in front of you. So enter the more gentle pull marketing, where your decision to buy is based on what you heard from someone who has already gained your trust after you have sought out the information. So this is marketing on your terms. You're the one in the driver's seat. There are lots of ways that this can happen, but I want to focus on those tools that we have online that make it so easy. So let me give you an example as you read through these. I mean, you're familiar with them. They don't need to be explained. Let's say someone comes to your door with a flyer for a new restaurant, and they tell you, this is a new restaurant, it's really great, you should try it. Well, you've just been interrupted, and you're probably not interested at all in that restaurant. But then that evening, you're on Facebook, and one of your friends says, hey, this is a new restaurant, it's really great, you should try it out. Suddenly, you have an interest. You're willing to try it out because you trust your friend. That's pull marketing. So push marketing is done on their terms, and you're the target. Or pull marketing is on your terms, and the brand is really the target. In other words, you're making the decision. Granted, this new online or pull marketing really can't replace all your relationships, but it's certainly made it easier to reach a lot more people with your message. It really does require some time and some effort and some patience. But over time, you'll become the person that people trust and want to come to for your expertise and what you have to offer. And it's going to make your brand a whole lot more attractive. Here's a little unscientific diagram that shows how I view the difference between push and pull marketing. So you could buy a Super Bowl commercial and you have this momentary peak, but 2 hours after the game, nobody remembers your brand or the commercial. On the other hand, if you're willing to be patient and take the time and the effort to develop a voice and to share content and your expertise, you're going to build that trust. And that's the greatest thing any brand can achieve. So what's holding you back? Let's get started.